Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SAIDATUL dan HAMZAH, and I would like to present about Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, and I will talk about introduction and credit risk. The Islamic banking industry is still in early stages, but it has spread quickly, and Islamic financial products were regarded as major future market. The term Islamic banking refers to the management of banking and financial transactions in accordance with Islamic ethical rules and in accordance with Islamic values and obligation to assume social responsibility. Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad is a well-known and potentially popular example of an Islamic finance. Bank Islam was founded primarily to meet the financial needs of the country's Muslim population, but it has since expanded its service to include the general public. Currently, the bank offers Sharia-compliant card services as well as mobile banking.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is NURUL binti ROSLAN, and I'm going to continue with my part, which is risk management from Islamic perspective. So risk is defined as a situation in which there is a possibility of something unpleasant or unwelcome happening. So risk management is one of the process of identifying, assessing and prioritizing risk. Risk management in Islam is based on the Quran and Sunnah. For example, during the hijrah from Mecca and Medina, Muslims travel in small groups. So this explains that since ancient time, people have known about this thing and try to reduce the risk by moving in a small group. So if risk is defined as a possibility of loss, it is clear from an Islamic perspective that risk is not desirable. So Islamic principles clearly state that wealth should be preserved and developed. So risk management refers to the process, method and tools used to manage risk in a project, which is first, we need to constantly assess what could go wrong, which is risk, and determine which risk must be addressed, the impact and prioritization, and we need to put strategies in place to address those risks, which is mitigation and doing some control and monitoring of the risk.
Hi, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syafaf Nabila binti Mohamad. So for today, I will continue our presentation about background institution Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, as known as BIMB. Okay, first of all, I will present about BIMB is as known as Islamic Finance and Banking, founded in 1983, which is of a Sharia compliant banking product institution. Standing of BIMB, the main function, BIMB will serve Bank Islam well as it continue to provide cutting-edge product and also realize its aim to be the world leader in Islamic banking. Other than that, BIMB, Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, is the first Sharia-compliant financial institution in Malaysia and also Southeast Asia. It is, BIMB will continue to provide the best service year by year. Then, we go through about history of BIMB, Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. For our information, YAB Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad congratulating Bank Islam on its official opening on July 1, 1983. Untuk pengetahuan kita semua, YB Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad mengucapkan tahniah kepada pihak Bank Islam yang official ditubuhkan pada tahun 1983. BIMB is a first year operation was managed by its temporary headquarters on the first floor of Complex Jemaah Haji in Subang, Selangor. At the end of 2018, until now, BIMB had more than 140 branches around country.
Credit risk is the most important issue in the field of financial risk management. So what is credit risk? Credit risk is simply the possibility that a bank borrower or counterparty will fail to meet obligations in accordance with the term agreed upon. So, credit risk management also seeks to maximize a bank risk-adjusted rate of return by keeping credit risk exposure within acceptable limits. Other than loans, banks are increasingly exposed to credit risk through financial instruments such as acceptance, interbank transaction, and trade financing. Therefore, Bank Islam took several steps to reduce credit risk, which the first one is maintain a strong and prudent credit risk policy, as well as credit risk limits to ensure that credit defaults and losses are within the approved risk appetite. Next is all exposures and non-compliant, including emerging risks, are reported to management and board committees. And lastly, prior to submission to management and board committees for approval, the business credit evaluation is independently reviewed and constructively challenged by credit analysts. That's all from me. Thank you.
Secondly is market risk. So market risk is defined as a risk of losses in on and off balance sheet position rising from movement in market price. So it is related to the current and future volatility of specific asset market values. It's also defined as any risk that could losses in a financial institution due to the changes in the price of equity instrument and trade activities, which is price rate, exchange rate risk, rate of return risk, and commodities. So the goals of BIMB is to manage market risk to maximize return on risk while maintaining a market risk profile consistent with the group of approved risk appetite. So to mitigate the market risk, BIMB should maintain a strong market risk policy and market risk limits based on the best practices. Second, market risk limits management action triggers are reviewed on a regular basis to ensure effective risk management. And lastly, all exposures and non-compliance are promptly reported to management and board committees. Thank you.
Liquidity risk. The first one, we should to know liquidity risk of meaning. The risk that a business of person would not have enough money to meet their financial commitment, as known as pay their debts. Comparable between conventional and Islamic banks, Islamic bank plays equal importance on liquidity, meanwhile liquidity management for Islamic bank is interest-based and hence incompatible with Sharia Islamic law.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SHAKILLA and I will present about operational risk and information technology risk in Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. According to BIMB, operational risk is the possibility of financial loss due to insufficient or ineffective internal procedures, people, system, or to outside events. And mitigation, BIMB actively managing operational risk in accordance with the group's operational risk policy and authorized risk appetite. And development of a risk compliance unit within important activities and risk controllers are hired in every division. The management and the board committee will jointly analyze the cost and organize a comprehensive report to these two parties involving operational. According to BIMB, IT risk is any possible negative result, loss, theft, violation, interruption, or breach resulting from the use or reliance on computer hardware, software, electronic device, system, application, and networks, or the existence of vulnerabilities. And how they mitigate is setting up internal processes and control like change management, security tool implementation, proactive security monitoring, system backup and recovery. System monitoring has been increased and committee at the working and management levels are keeping a close eye on how things are going with the phases reported to the board IT.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ROSLAN and I will explain about how Bank Islam manage Sharia non-compliant risk. As it is, Sharia non-compliant risk is defined as the possibility that an Islamic financing transaction will be challenged on the grounds that it does not comply with Islamic law, which means it is a risk where Islamic banking is likely to be exposed to elements based on things that can invalidate the Sharia compliance, such as riba, as in interest, qamar, maisir, or being involved in contracts that have haram elements. So, Bank Islam have put several mitigations to manage these risks, which are check for compliance with Sharia governance frameworks as required by the BNM Sharia governance structure for specific functions: Sharia research and advisory, Sharia risk management, Sharia compliance, and Sharia audit to undertake risk management of Sharia non-compliance. And next, in order to comply with Sharia, all rules, products, and services and processes must be compliant. Then, use operational risk tools such as risk control, self-assessment, key risk indicators, and loss event management. As example, risk control self-assessment was discovered to be the most used tool for risk identification. However, the first stage for triggering Sharia non-compliance risk varies between the Islamic banks. The RCSA is a good self-assessment tool for finding potential Sharia violations inside and each function's end-to-end the procedure. And lastly, All Sharia non-compliant incidents and issues are reported to management, the board, and the Sharia committee, along with the full root cause and analysis and response plans. For the conclusion, the management of risk in Bank Islam was managed by the mitigation that they took as the precaution. Risk management is important for Bank Islam so that this Islamic banking can continue to operate more actively for the future. As integrated strategy for risk management should be used for Islamic banks to expand further, extend their business models, and interact with the global banking system.